by Mandalay and Luxor. So for now, I think it's in pretty decent shape. We'll see how it unfolds in August. But I wanted to come on today because we were like, this could be a nightmare. I think they've done a pretty decent job. I'm not promising anything. We'll see what happens on game days, and we're gonna get a good test of it with some events over the summer.
Man, what are the room rates going to be like for those Holiday Inns and like those suites right there?
Well, that was something I talked about earlier. Is in that Polaris Valley View area, there's also a lot of small businesses that I think they'll be getting people to park there.
There it is.
But the other thing is, you just talked about it. As you go up north on Dean Martin, there's Hotel Galaxy. I was looking there. I'm like, well, whoever owns this, there's a lot of parking here, and there's rooms.
They're
going to make money there. There's a Motel 6. Then you go up on the corner of Dean Martin and Trop, just on the east side of the 15. There's kind of a co-property there, brand new hotel. They've got a pretty big garage. I made sure to drive up and down Dean Martin. I was like, okay, where would I want to walk from? Like, would I walk from Wild Wild West / the Days Inn? Right? Would I walk to the stadium from there? Yes. How about the park? By the way, how about the parking there? So the whole parking thing, it's going to be a work in progress, but there's a lot of parking down there. And then, as I said earlier, June 14th is when the MGM properties will announce what they're going to do in terms of pricing with their parking, which will be interesting. So I thought, I'll give them, without seeing everything in motion on game days, I'll give them a B+ so far with what they have to work with, because they did go into a very warehouse industrial area.
Yeah,
that's the way it is right now, and they've had to try to figure this out. And as far as we know, I was talking to Mick Akers from the RJ, who was all over this, and he said, when he was asking questions about, remember those satellite lots that they were talking about, like 2 miles south on LV Boulevard or the Orleans, and there'd be shuttles coming in. It doesn't sound like those are going to be in play anymore.
Or needed, right? That's the other part about it. Not so much that. So yeah, saying that they're not in play makes it seem like something went wrong, but it just sounds like they just won't be needed.
They got better options.
As we say, with all the options that they have. Can I just say too, by the way, there is a bar if you drive west of Russell, and there is a bar on the right-hand side. They got the big painted mural on the side. I've always wanted to go in there, but I just never have.
Yeah, go in. It's pretty cool. Some of the best fries in town.
Really?
Random mention, but I didn't have the pizza last time I was there, but the pizza was very good. That's actually, I don't think it actually survived the whole makeover. That's actually a Tapper makeover place.
Really?
Yeah, he went in there. It's actually because it's a weird looking place, but guess what? That's another one of those places by the stadium where they're like, ooh,
hell yeah,
cha-ching.
Look, and you can't deny a lot of these little spots that have popped up around there. I'm sure everybody's a local that's listening to this, but maybe not everybody lives on that side of town. I'm always there all the time, driving through for work, all that kind of stuff. You're right. There's like a lot of little businesses that are going to be very happy once this starts going on, because they're set to make some good amount of money off of it, and they deserve it, right? These local businesses suffered, and now you get some of these little advantages for having an NFL stadium right near you.
Number 4.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. F it.
We're rolling video right now from Sam's Town. Thanks. I don't know why we got a curse that we're F it. We're doing it.
That was Ari.
Clippers trying to stay alive tonight. I feel like the conspiracy theorists are going to be out if they win this series. Max Kellerman said, so instead of Lakers-Clippers conference final, we're going to get Denver-Utah instead of New York-LA final. Wait, what? When was it ever a New York-LA final in play?
New York.
These freaking New Yorkers. Come on, Max. Maybe Utah-Milwaukee. League's got to be happy about that. There are lots of people, I'm not saying Max said this, but there are a lot of people who are like, oh, watch what happens with the officials with the Clippers. Right?
I've gotten a note for a
John, we were always going to be dealing with this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
There's a changing of the guard in the league. All right? The big 3 combinations don't always work. The big 2 combinations don't always work. Those guys are getting old. The Lakers are out. The Clippers could be out. The Knicks were never a factor, so stop mentioning them. There's going to be some new teams and smaller cities that are in. Is the NBA going to be cool with it? More importantly, are fans going to be cool with it?
So, look, I know I am, and I feel like fans should be, right? What was the complaint when we watched Cavs Warriors for the 4th consecutive year, right? Same teams, always know who's going to win, right? All the time. So now...
Then you give them this.
Here you go. Here is your parody.
Right. Milwaukee, Utah. Bullcrap. Right. League sucks now.
If Dallas wins...
Wait, I thought you wanted this.
Right. And if Dallas wins today, Steve, I'm telling you Dallas wins today. Who wins the West? Tell me. Do you have any idea? Like,
I said Utah, but
right, but do you feel confident in that? Like, how confident do you feel?
I don't have them as like an overwhelming favorite. No,
correct. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that's where we're at. Look at the Eastern Conference. Let's say Embiid is fully healthy. Out of those three, Milwaukee, Philly, Brooklyn, who's going to win the Eastern Conference?
Well, you know what I'm going to say.
Brooklyn.
My Nets, of course, and the big three who just average 85 points a game.
Your level of confidence?
I'm actually pretty confident.
Really?
No, I'm lying. It's not a walkover.
That was a Cofield-esque really. Did you like that one? But regardless, the point is that like, this is what makes the NFL so popular, right? This is what makes it so much fun, is if you get your team into the dance, you feel like you got a chance. And this is what the NBA is now, right? There's a legitimate path for a team like the Dallas Mavericks, a 5 seed, to make it to a conference finals because they have a superstar and because there is parity within that conference. I think that's a really good thing for the league. And, by the way, you still have all your stars. Each one of these teams has a legitimately good player that is worth watching, worth rooting for, all of these things, right? Devin Booker on the Suns, Donovan Mitchell on the Utah Jazz, Luka Doncic on the Dallas Mavericks, right? Trae Young on the Atlanta Hawks. Like, we can go on and on with all of these guys. There's legitimately good players on all these teams. There's mystery around who's going to win it. I think it's really good for the league.
On this Kellerman thread, when he's like, oh, the league's going to be real happy about, Utah-Milwaukee final, he got a rash of crap from people who were like, when are you guys in the Northeast media going to stop with everything outside of L.A. and New York and Boston sucks? Like, there are people who want to see the mid-market cities win.
Right.
And by the way, the NBA is not that far removed from arguably the most dominant franchise from 97 to 2017 being mid-sized market San Antonio. It worked out okay.
Right. Well,
but it's just I'm not going on an anti-media rant. I just think that we get caught. We don't, because we're in Las Vegas, but we too often get caught with, like, if it's not one of the gigantic markets or gigantic established names, then it sucks. And that's not the case.
No, well, I'm going to say, we don't. It's the people in those areas that do. Right? Not worth watching unless the Knickerbockers are in town, baby. You watch all the Knicks, it's great.
The league has survived with the Knicks sucking.
Of course they have. It's been better than ever without
and
the
Knicks. Playoffs are going to be fine without the overachieving 41-win Knick team that wimped out in their series. It'll be okay.
Right.
Here, the other funny thing here is, it's almost like everything is so New York-ized and somewhat LA-ized that you'll get a Philly with stars all over the place in a major market, and they kind of look at Philly like, Philly? Like, it's a gigantic city with great basketball history. That's a bad thing now that Philly can get to the final?
Let's also not act like all of your cities are just kind of one massive city within like 10 feet of each other. You're all the same.
What do you mean?
Philly, New Jersey, Atlantic, all that stuff. It's all just the same people. They just live. It's all one massive city.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Essentially, South Jersey is East Philly.
Right. It's all the same. New York. I can see it over the rivers from Secaucus. I see New York. It's all the same thing.
In New Jersey is where New Yorkers put their garbage.
Number 3.
I'll just step back, folks.
I'm sorry. I know, but I had because I'm a Levitard fan. Yeah. Like, they were actually having a conversation on the podcast. This ties into that about like, you should get the boroughs of New York to have teams. It'd be such a fun rivalry. Who would care about that? And 3 of them were talking that were like from New York or lived in New York. Like, it just goes to the mindset of New Yorkers. Like, I would care about Queens versus like the Bronx, like an NBA game. The rivalry would be spectacular.
I know.
No, it wouldn't. Nobody would care. Like,
they're
so
stuck in their own world.
I had to mention it. It just hit me, but it's incredible. The level of like, it's New York, it's the center of the world. No, it's not.
Nothing like it. There's lots of places like it. It's so ridiculous. I will step back because I know what's coming here. Well, sort of. LeBron James loses. He's out. No title. Don't ever mention LeBron James' name in the same breath as Michael Jordan.
No, I'm not. Okay. Here's the thing. No, I'm not. Here's the thing. I just think it's kind of getting old, right? Like, every time something happens with LeBron, it's immediately, you're never going to be, like, it goes straight to that. Like, can we involve the conversation a little bit? But what irritates me the most is, regardless of how I feel about the conversation itself and the actual center debate of who's better, MJ or LeBron, what bothers me is using MJ, right, as an example to slight LeBron when you're completely wrong about things. Do you know how many people yesterday I saw on social media, Steve, actually say MJ wouldn't lose in the first round? He did it 3 times. But it's just people who you have no idea that MJ's probably lost in the first round, right? And so we'll just throw that out there. MJ wouldn't have lost that series. And then when people respond with, well, actually, it happened 3 times. He lost in the first round quite a bit. Oh, that's when he was young. Doesn't count. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's just my whole thing is, one, the argument is tired, right? It's kind of getting old. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to argue, just be like, just this much. I'm holding my fingers really close together. Just educate yourself this much if you're going to try to make points in an argument that